News to All-American lists to memberships and much more, go to usila.org.
Another staple of the USILA during this college season is the Team of the Week, where a number of players from all three divisions are honored for their performances. So why don't we run through the latest teams for the week of March 4th. Headlining the D1 team, Notre Dame junior attackman Brian Willits. He scored a highlight reel overtime game winner as the Irish topped Maryland on Sunday. That capped off his 3-goal and 2-assist day. 5 points, including the OT game winner. Pretty darn good. How about Virginia's Michael Krause? Also turning in a highlight reel crease dive against Syracuse. Krause, 3 goals and 3 assists. UVA coming back to knock off the Orange in the Carrier Dome. Here's your full list of the USILA D1 team for the week of March 4th. We already talked about Towson's Tyler Canto. NJIT senior attackman Aaron Forster set school records with 9 goals and 11 points against Quinnipiac. Hopkins senior midfielder tied the Blue Jays record with 6 caused turnovers in Danny Jones against Princeton. Marist faceoff athlete Peyton Smith, 42 of 50 faceoffs he won in 2 games this past week. And Detroit Mercy's Matthew Van Galen dropping 9 points, a win over Bellarmine. That included the game-winning goal with 9 seconds left.
Move on to Division II. Team of the Week, College of St. Rose senior attackman Carter Badawauer dropped 10 goals and 2 assists in a pair of games, 5 goals and 7 points, coming in a win at LIU Post. That was a big victory. Here's the rest of the Warrior New Balance D2 Team of the Week. Rockhurst's Connor Bateman had 5 caused turnovers against Belmont Abbey. Merrimack attackman Charlie Bertrand had 10 points against Lake Erie. And Assumption keeps rolling up those stats. Goalie Colby Hamway had 19 saves in the upset over Tampa, while Travis Reed, a week after scoring 13 goals and 22 points against Felician, had 7 points, including the game winner against Tampa.
Must be his name, Travis. I like that, Travis Reed.
Points.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of Travis.
Let's go to Division III. Salisbury senior Corey Gwynn, career best 7 goals against Ohio Wesleyan. He has 17 goals, 23 points in just 5 games so far for the second-ranked Gulls. Here's the rest of the D3 team for the week of March 4th. It includes Gwynn's teammate at Salisbury, faceoff athlete Brett Malafi. Tough sophomore attackman Max Waldbaum dropping 6 goals in each of Tufts' first 2 games. Gettysburg's Brian Colin scored the most goals in a game by a bullet in 4 years when he had 7 against Stevenson. And Stockton's Eric Anderson, 17 points in 2 wins, while Delaware Valley goalie Nick Brown making 25 stops.
Oh my.
That's a lot of shots in that victory over Arcadia. Well, a cause near and dear to the USILA is the Headstrong Foundation, as it encourages its member programs to raise funds for the charity with games devoted to the cause. You
know, some teams take it to even another level, like Alvernia, and get special Headstrong lime green uniforms or equipment for their game. You see them right there. Pretty cool.
Yeah, here's a look at a few of the upcoming USILA Headstrong games. Marquette and Ohio State played one this past weekend down in Dallas, broadcast here on LSN, part of the Patriot Cup. That featured lime green nets. Also, keep your eyes out for Middlebury at Amherst. That game at the end of the month, and Duke against Marquette being played in Bethpage, New York. A Headstrong fundraising game coming up next month.
All right, so you can catch USILA Monthly every month here on LSN, and those USILA rankings every week on Lacrosse Now and on our social media channels too.
But for now, for Tom Eschen, myself, the entire LSN crew, have a good night.
Our primary goal is to positively impact every child exposed to the sport.
USA on 3! 1, 2, 3! USA!
If they're having fun while they're learning, that's what it's all about.
Today, we're going to put it all together.
Get open, guys. Spread out. Let's go.
Let's go out and continue what you started.
Whatever's across your chest matters.
It's having the opportunity to now inspire the next generation. I mean, that's the dream, right? It's important for all of us as caretakers of the sport to give back.
My man, right? You need heart.
Get ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75-plus breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinenkugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Get ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75-plus breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinenkugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Our primary goal is to positively impact every child exposed to the sport.
USA on three! 1, 2, 3! USA!
If they're having fun while they're learning, that's what it's all about.
Today, we're going to put it all together.
Get open, guys. Spread out. Let's go.
Let's go out and continue what you started.
Whatever's across your chest matters.
It's having the opportunity to now inspire the next generation. I mean, that's the dream, right?
It's important for all of us as caretakers of the sport to give back.
My man, right? You need heart.
LSN. Today we continue day 2 of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Action from the main line to West Philadelphia today. Vitus Field the spot as Penn takes on St. Joe's in a Philly clash of rivals. Once again, welcome back alongside Mitch Belisle. I'm Travis Eldridge. Mitch, before we get to this game we're about to see, we got to look back at game 1 from this afternoon. What a performance from Drexel, bouncing back from a tough first quarter against Villanova and walking away with an upset win.
Yeah, they really came out and went back on their heels, and Villanova threw the first punch, but they were able to dig their heels in and get the ball to their offense. It started with some stops by Blumenthal. Their defense figured it out, and then their offense, which they know it can produce, they did exactly that. They were able to capitalize on some man-up opportunities, score some goals in transition, and then thrive offensively.
So Drexel leaves this weekend at 2-0 in this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic, while the Wildcats 0-2. When we look ahead to this game, Penn looking to go 2-0 on the weekend after the win over Villanova. One of the reasons they got by the Wildcats on Friday, the freshman Sam Hanley.
Yeah, and he's such a big body, hailing from Portland, Oregon, made so many plays. He scored goals in all different spots of the field. And the best part is he's got a great supporting cast. So he's got Mitch Bartolo, he's got Tyler Dunn, who gives that underneath inside look. And then that doesn't even mention the attack, where they got a lot of strength as well.
So all those guys will be looking to score against the sophomore goalie, Mike Adler for St. Joe's. Had a single-digit saves against Drexel, but he's the backbone of this defense.
Yeah, they really rely on him heavily, both to make those saves, but also to command the team. He's only a sophomore, but he's one of the more consistent pieces of that group, and so they're going to count on him big time today.
And so we will see if St. Joe's can bounce back and get to 1-1 on the weekend, or if Penn can go 2-0 in his Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Face-off from Vitus Field coming up next on Lac Sports Network.
Get ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75+ breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinenkugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Welcome back. Travis Eldridge, Mitch Belisle with you. College lacrosse on LSN, getting ready for the final game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic from Vitus Field. St. Joe's sitting at 3-3 on the year, lost on Friday to Drexel, taking on the Quakers of Penn, who sit at 1-3. Their first win of the season coming on Friday against Villanova at Villanova. But the record certainly may fool you, Mitch, when you look at what the Quakers have been up against this year, losing to Maryland, Duke, and Penn State before getting that first W against Villanova.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. This is a very good team, and they showed that on Friday night, and then they've got another chance to do so on Sunday to get right back to 3-2. So a couple tough losses. I'm sorry, 2-3. So a couple tough losses early in the season to very good teams, but they are so deep at every position, and they've got such strength from the midfield on down to the attack, and their defense really buckled down when they needed to on Friday night.
Taking a look at the head coach for the Quakers, Mike Murphy, in his 10th season. He's taken this program to NCAA tournaments in both 2011 and 2014. They made the Ivy League tournament in 6 of the last 8 years, including last year, which was an impressive run in a very, very deep and talented Ivy League. On the other side of things for St. Joe's, it's Taylor Ray. He's in his 8th season leading the Hawks. The winningest coach in St. Joe's history. He's taken this program to 4 11-win seasons in the last 5 years, including last year, an 11-4 year where they went 6-0 in the NEC. This year has been a little different, Mitch, as they lost 83% of their scoring, and they're 85% of this roster, freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah, a lot of sophomores on this team, but you know what? This is a game that they've won 2 out of the last 3 years. So you got to look back on that and say, throw the records, throw the who's got who out of the window. This is a rivalry game, and both teams are going to come to compete.
At the faceoff X, the freshman from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, Zach Cole for the Hawks. The junior from Northport, New York, Kyle Gallagher for Penn. The transfer from Hofstra was really good against Villanova on Friday night, and he starts things off with a win, and he gets Penn the first offensive set.
Penn jumped out to an early 6-0 lead on Friday night. They're going to try to do the same thing here. That cushion really helped them out as they came down the stretch against Villanova as they try to claw back towards the end.
That starting attack unit for Penn has been pretty good. Adam Goldner, Sean Lully, and Simon Matthias. Matthias, one of the key performers on the attack unit. You see number 45 in white a whole bunch. And now in there in the starting midfield, number 26 in white, Sam Hanley, coming off that terrific performance on Friday night, a career best 7 points, as Matthias sends it right into Adler's stick.
And Adler hugged that pipe really tightly, almost baiting him to go that far side where his stick is, and he still kind of put it dead center of the net. But great job by Adler. He's going to have to come up huge to keep St. Joe's in this game.
Mike Adler just 7 saves back on Friday night in the 10-7 loss to Drexel, but he, as described by Taylor Ray to us earlier this week, the backbone of this defense may just be a sophomore, but when you have so many freshmen and sophomores, it's guys that have experience that become the leaders, and Adler, having started all of last year, is certainly one of those guys.
Yeah, communication is a key, especially from the goaltender, having that ability to dictate what your defense does, when to slide, when not to slide. So he is going to be that key communicator and the leader of this team.
Nick Vernacchio, Zach Manti, and Teo Domick, the starting midfield for St. Joe's. Here's a shot from way downtown from Austin Strazula. It's saved, and back come the Quakers.
Great outlet there by Reed Junkin, and nice job by BJ Ferrari of catching that right over the head. And smart play, right? If it's there, take it. But if it's not, settle it down. Your offense has got so many good pieces to it. Let them get on, do their thing, and start stretching out this St. Joe's defense.
It's a Penn team that returned 7 starters from last year. They lost their second leading scorer in Kevin McGeary as the shot sails a little wide. Also lost Connor Keating, who ended up being a professional player, moving on to play Major League Lacrosse this past season. But otherwise, you have a lot coming back for this Quakers team, who started slow but has some veteran leadership to try to lead them through this really difficult start to the season. First 4 games all coming against teams that were ranked top 11 in the country.
Yeah, Coach Murphy schedules that this way on purpose, so that way they can test themselves and make sure they're ready to go once Ivy League hits. But now, the Ivy League being such a strong league across the board, that's only a better help to that strength of schedule as they look to make that NCAA tournament.
In front, good look from Goldner. Just 6 seconds left on the shot clock for Matthias, so he's going to have to go quickly from the corner. Slips, tries to send it in front. That's the shot clock violation.
I believe it was Mike Murphy said they hadn't had to roll one in the corner yet. That might be the first time where they ran out. They had a couple good looks there, but Adler, the guy we expected to be such a big linchpin to their success, has done what he's needed to so far.
So St. Joe's will settle things down. This is a Hawks offense that was used to playing in the settled 6-on-6 a year ago, but when you lose 83% of your scoring, including top guys like Chris Blewett, Kyle Kane, and Mike Restivo, Coach Ray a little bit more comfortable with this team going unsettled in transition situations because they don't have quite the same horses offensively as they did last year. Pass in front, just tough to handle by Teo Domick, by Nate Patterson.
Kyle Thornton did a nice job of checking down there, but then almost dragged him down with his stick. They might have sold that. Nate Patterson might have sold that a little bit, but he did a good job, and they'll retain possession because of it.
And a fresh 80 seconds for the Hawks. Doran turns the corner, rings the bar, and another fresh shot clock.
A little miscommunication there at X with a long pole and a short stick, switching there. Mark Ivanchik trying to get through that. His teammate needs to back up a little bit more to give him space there. You can see them talking after the play to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Ivanchik draws the matchup with Doran at X. Domick back out top. Still lots of time to operate a long defensive set for the Quakers.
One issue we're gonna have to see is St. Joe's able to penetrate that dangerous area of the field. So that was something they couldn't really do on Friday night, and Penn does such a good job defensively. If they can keep them out of the dangerous areas, they're going to rely on Reed Junkin to make those saves. And the only way St. Joe's is going to stay in this game is through transition.
So the over and back call off the errant pass gives it right back to Penn. You mentioned 2 of the last 3 going the way of St. Joe's in this rivalry. Otherwise, it's been all Penn, 13-2 all time against the Hawks. This has been a really good game as of late. Good outlet pass by Adler. Hawks looking for numbers. Hands free, saved by Junkin.
That's that transition we said St. Joe's is going to have to rely on. Penn midfield, D midfielder picked up the ground ball. There was in danger of falling into the crease. You're not allowed to go from the outside of the crease back into the crease with the ball in your stick. So he just kind of flung that out to the other end, and nice job by the St. Joe's defense of being on top of their game and being ready to pick that up. St. Joe's really working to set picks at X.
Yeah.
And I think they want to see if they can get some matchup switches here. They know the matchups here are going to be difficult with such a strong Penn defense, so trying to mix it up and get some attackmen being covered by short sticks, that's something they're going to definitely look to do over the course of this game.
Nick Vernacchio working from X. Gets stripped of it, but right place, right time, Zach Manti.
And Mark Ivanchik with a big check. He is a physical specimen. His teammates, his coaches, his alumni, they all say he is a beast in the weight room, and the ability to move despite being so big is something that impresses people.
A dive there from Domick, and he gets called for the crease violation as he couldn't put that one home, and Penn gets possession back. Coach Murphy calling Ivanchik uniquely athletic when we talked to him this week.
That was the term he used, and you can see that as he's so big, yet he stays in the gloves, he's physical, and he's done a nice job of using that size and speed to his advantage so far.
Ivanchik, actually the 2015 Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Connecticut in football. Shows you just what kind of athlete he is.
Yeah, that multi-sport athlete being so prevalent, and when you hear coaches talk about what they're looking for, 1, you don't get burned out, and 2, you show that you can do things from different spots and different athletic positions. Makes such a big difference. That specialization, the trend of specialization is something that any college coach will tell you. Yeah, we want guys to do things in the fall so we can see them, but we want kids playing multiple sports.
Feed down in front, Rosner with a fancy finish. Penn strikes first, it's 1-0.
Great little look inside. Rosner running away from his slide. Draws a slide, looks inside. Rosner with a little Canadian egg roll. Second chance to say that today.
You're all about the Canadian egg roll.
Philadelphia cheesesteak roll.
That's more of what we're talking about. Alex Rosner, a guy who hasn't really gotten going this year. That his first goal of the season. The senior from Baltimore, Maryland, played at Loyola Blakefield, was part of that U19 team in 2016 that won gold. One of a couple of guys on this Quakers squad that were part of that team. Part of a class of 2015 high school class that was so highly regarded for the Quakers and have been a big part of this program. Shot off the faceoff just wide. Josh Bozier wanted it.
Rozier bringing the heat there. If he puts that on net, I don't know if Junkin's going to have a chance at it.
That senior class for Penn, hungry to really leave their mark on this program. It's so highly regarded coming out of high school. Coach Murphy saying that those guys were leaders the second they stepped on campus. That was how good they were, trying to get this team back to an NCAA tournament.
Yeah, depth is the one word that he talked about. This is the deepest he feels like each position has been, and that starts with having guys that step up right away. And then you add freshmen like Sam Hanley in the mix, and you get even more depth. So he's got to be excited about what's to come, but they still got to get a win here tonight. Today, everything's thrown off with daylight savings.
It's thrown everybody off. Of all weekends to have one less hour of sleep. Quicker turnaround for all these guys who all played on Friday night.
Yeah, and I didn't think in the last game, there was not too much fatigue that you could notice, but there's little things that coaches will notice, like sticks not being up in passing lanes defensively, offensively not taking that extra step, or not riding after you turn the ball over. So those are the little plays that make the difference.
Step down shot off the crossbar. Tough break for Thomas LaRose, but kept alive by Strazula.
And St. Joe's has done a great job of not forcing things. I think they're working the ball around, and that was a great look. Good shot off the crossbar, but they're not forcing the inside looks. They're taking their time. And that's what it's going to take to get a win today, is capitalizing at the end of a couple of these long possessions.
Here's Evan Campbell working for the top. Just got by Junkin and backed up by the Hawks. No fresh shot clock, so still 40 seconds to operate. Here's LaRose, beats his man, but it's stripped away. Kept alive by Strazula.
And that'll get a fresh clock, and LaRose did a really nice job there getting to the center of the field, and that's what we said is going to be so important, is penetrating that Penn defense, but great trail check by the Penn defender. And that's one of those things where fatigue, you don't make that if you're tired. So the end of this game, you got to see if guys are still making those little plays, even after they get beat, to sprint to get that trail check, or to dive to get that loose ball, or ball that's going out of bounds. So great job by Penn thus far, and shaking that fatigue.
LaRose, one of just two seniors on this St. Joe's roster, trying to pass it to Strazula, and it's kicked away. A ground ball pushed over the sideline, though, and St. Joe's keeps, once again, a long possession for this Penn defense to work.
Nice ride there by Ryan Duran. St. Joe's, they are doing everything right now. They're getting rebounds. They're taking shots that are allowing them to get the ball back. So if they can capitalize at the end of this, that's how you feel really good. On the other side of the coin, if Penn gets a stop here, then you're looking at Penn really gaining some confidence. Like, man, we can take their best punch, and we just sat there and defended them. So this could be an impactful end result to this set.
And that's a nice takeaway by Kyle Thornton. Reed Junkin comes out to get the ground ball.
Great job. We say moving it up the ladder there, just finding the open man in front of you.
And Penn content to get a good offensive set, give their defense a little break here in the first quarter, up 1-0.
And they're not going to be pressured here as St. Joe's drops back into a zone. We expected to see this. Coach Ray said they're probably going to have to throw some zone at Penn, knowing who their matchups are, knowing that they have these big athletic midfielders. So it'll be interesting to see, can Sam Hanley still be effective without that room to dodge?
Hanley stepped down. Somebody might have gotten a stick in that shot. It sails high.
Yeah, Liam Hare, I believe, got a piece of that. Nice job. And that's being long is important in a zone. You got to get long sticks.
Down to Matthias. Hanley's got an assist. Matthias has got a goal.
Travis, I love the finish there. They find him on the backside. They draw that attention. He comes around the corner, and instead of keeping his stick on the same plane, his stick is low, so he shoots high. And being able to change planes, you'll hear that time and time again from coaches, from commentators. you have to change planes. Otherwise, the goalie can just stay with you the whole time. If he'd kept that low, Adler was down low, ready to block anything, but nice job of, pulling with that top hand to make sure he snapped that ball into the upper corners, and great finish there by Simon Matthias.
And you have to think that Hanley and his ability to stretch the defense there affects the St. Joe's defense as well. They have to respect him from that spot and the step down, and he's able to find a guy on the doorstep.
Well, and that's I'll be very curious to see how aggressive are they in this zone. Do they put a little pressure on the ball carrier, or do they really pack it in? Because if they pack it in, you're going to let those shooters shoot.
Now you got a turnover and an unsettled situation for the Hawks. Look at his strike. Struzula just wide.
And St. Joe's had a couple opportunities. They haven't been able to hit the net, so they got to put these shots on goal. Nice job running it down by Evan Campbell. I might have taken that shot. He was at about 9 yards, so. Maybe whoever hits the net first gets to take the next few shots.
St. Joe's got off to a terrific start against Drexel on Friday. Had a 1-goal lead at the half, but really hit a roadblock in the second half, scoring just 1 goal in the final 30 minutes in that 10-7 loss. Thorin trying to round the corner, and he's shut down by Ivanchik.
So you see these St. Joe's players, as the ball moves to the dodger, they're backing up and then dodging. You want to start wide and then work your way in. And that is one thing that I do think that the fatigue plays a factor in, is that spreading out of the offense. So great save there by Reed Junkin off the face. But yeah, St. Joe's is going to have to stretch that defense, and that means working hard. And sometimes that's tough when you're tired.
An early 5 saves for Reed Junkin, the senior from Wayland, Massachusetts. He's got double-digit saves in every game, all 4 games so far this season. Chardy in there as you get a lot of midfielders some run here for the Quakers. Hanley coming down. Shot sails wide. Matthias there for the backup.
And you see Hanley's size and strength just bowling into a long pole there. Trying to create some separation for his hands.
6'5", 215 freshman, Sam Hanley. Just think, is now he's in a D1 weight program. Rebound out in front. Bartolo, right place, right time, and it's a 3-0 Quakers lead.
And that was a nice little triangle motion from it wasn't quite the attack, but where the attack spots were. They had a big little behind, which means a long pole defender and a short pole defender. They did a nice job of exploiting that. Everyone rotated together. You see Matthias bangs it back to the backside. They look inside. Great poke check, but it goes right to Mitch Bartolo, who finishes it and then gets shoved and just rolls his ankle a little bit. But I think that's one of those he'll be able to walk off there. Just stepped on it a little bit funny as he went over.
Yeah. They got a timeout on the field. A great start for Penn, up 3-0 here in the early going. We take a look back to how they beat Villanova on Friday night at Villanova. Got off to that 6-0 lead. Villanova made a run in the 4th quarter, but Sam Hanley's 4 goals and 3 assists, just too much, able to outduel Connor Kirst and the Wildcats.
Yeah, Connor Kirst stepped up huge at the end of that game, but like you said, Sam Hanley was the key, scoring goal after goal. But then the other thing, Tyler Dunn flew under the radar. He made some huge plays. That goal we saw right there, getting underneath his defender, one late in the game diving across the crease. So he really stepped up, and they did a nice job of working together.
And win number 1 on the season for the Quakers. As we said at the top, that record very deceiving, because when you play 3 teams that are all somewhere in the top 5, top 6 or 7 in the country, that 0-3 start doesn't look all that bad, especially considering you had an overtime loss to Maryland in the opener, and then you lost by 1 goal to a Penn State squad that very well might be number 1 on Monday.
No, and you have to play those teams if you hope to be there at the end of the game, at the end of the season. But they don't have any slouches coming up. You look, Princeton, Cornell, Yale, Brown, Harvard. The Ivy League is going to feature at least 2 or 3 top 10 teams when all is said and done. So it's good to challenge themselves early, but they also have to start winning some games. And if they can do that in the Ivy League, they'll have success, and they'll be looking at the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you have an Ivy League school in Cornell, your alma mater, up 18-11 on #1 Towson. Cornell trying to bounce back from that loss to Penn State, a team that Penn knows a little something about. They're in-state rivals.
Yeah, Penn State has been scoring goals by the droves. They have seemed to figure things out there, and Coach Tambroni has them firing on all cylinders. It's good to see my Cornell boys putting it together against Towson. Always a tough matchup there. But good luck with your poll tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, Penn State.
I say you just pick from a hat.
I might. You throw like 3 different teams in there and see what you got. It's been an adventure all season long putting together a top 20, and this weekend making things difficult once again, especially when you look at Villanova, number 11 in the country entering this weekend, and they just lost a couple here at the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic.
Right, and where does Drexel go after 2 big wins? So there's a lot to consider, and every team can beat every team. You still have the upper echelon that are expected to win those big games, but now it really comes down to every team can beat every team. We just saw Rutgers beat Princeton, and so any given Saturday, Sunday, now it's every single day of the week, but any given day.
As Penn wins another face-off and a chance to go up by 4 before the end of this first quarter. Shot clock is longer than the game clock, so Penn can hold for 1 here.
Rosner's going to wait, try to get a last look here, whether it's for himself or try to beat his man, draw a double, and find the open shot. I wouldn't be surprised if Hanley's that guy over the top looking for the outside rip.
Pass back in front, and that was gorgeous. Rosner to Gagar. 4-zip Penn.
So this is where off ball, you gotta be so hyper aware. You know there's a low clock, you know guys are gonna be cutting, but you gotta have a slide ready, and that's where it gets challenging, because you're looking to slide, and then all of a sudden we do a nice job of following that slide. Gagar does, and he's wide open on the backside. It's about those top corner middies getting back, and you can see number 50 has to drop in. Andrew Chilson has to drop in, and he can support on that backside crease because his man is behind the goal where he's not a threat. So it's pretty easy to say that up here, sitting here not on the field, but that's what you got to do defensively, is you got to work really hard off ball to support your teammates, so that way they can feel comfortable sliding or playing one-on-one defense.
Another face-off win for Gallagher, a chance to add to it. Knocked away. Still 5 seconds for Matthias, saved by Adler. But we have a flag down, so with 1 second to go, Penn is going to get an extra man opportunity.
Gallagher's been dominant on the face-off. He's popped it up to himself every time.
Gonna be a push. Yeah, Josh Bozier push with possession, so the LSM goes to the box, and Penn can hold on to this thing for the last second and get the ball to start the second quarter with still some time on the extra man opportunity. All Quakers so far in the first at Vidas Field. Penn with a 4-0 lead over St. Joe's. We'll be back with quarter number 2. You're watching College Lacrosse on LSN.
Ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75+ breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinie Kugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Our primary goal is to positively impact every child exposed to the sport.
USA on 3. 1, 2, 3. USA!
If they're having fun while they're learning, that's what it's all about.
Today, we're going to put it all together.
Get open, guys. Spread out.
Let's go out and continue what you started.
Whatever's across your chest matters.
It's having the opportunity to now inspire the next generation. I mean, that's the dream, right?
It's important for all of us as caretakers of the sport to give back.
My man, all right? You need heart.
Welcome back. You're watching College Lacrosse on LSN. Travis Eldridge and Mitch Belisle back with you as we get ready for quarter number 2, the final game from the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic, day 2. Now at Vitus Field at Drexel Penn on an extra man, already up 4-0 on St. Joe's. Down to the doorstep, Matthias has a pair.
Just a nice EMO feed from the top down. That's a second kind of top center down to that skip lane pass that Hanley's made. Nice job finding that seam, and then the extra effort by Matthias. He almost jumped over the 2 defensemen, but a little fake, getting down there, and that's where St. Joe's, you got to get your sticks in lanes and protect that. It's up to the adjacent players, so one pass away needs to be sinking down with their sticks up in the lanes, making sure that those skip passes don't get through, because those are the killers in man up.
Second straight connection from the freshman Sam Hanley to the senior Simon Matthias. And just like we saw on Friday night against Villanova, Penn off to a very fast start. Led 6-0 in that one, and Gallagher wins another face-off to himself.
Yeah, St. Joe's, they're going to have to figure something out from the wings, because right now they're not getting even close to the ball on the clamp. So what can you do on the wings? You could put 2 poles on there. You can lock off and make him handle it, but right now he's just winning it forward for a faceoff. So they're probably going to want to put someone down low to cut off that break. It looks like they already had their pole sinking pretty low, but they're going to want to get all the way down, make that impossible for him to get that fast break.
Bartolo to Hanley to Gergar. Tic-tac-toe. The Quakers have it clicking.
That was a snipe, near side, low angle. Great shot there. Just good, solid ball movement, drawing a man. And it looks like St. Joe's has snapped back into a little bit of a zone here, and that's where you can open up these seams. And a good job moving it down to Gregar for a nice finish. They draw a double, they draw 2 men to the ball, and they continue to move it until they find the open man. That's how you beat a zone. You find those gaps in between the players.
And you get Adler having to shift back from the top to the far post and get him moving back and forth. And for the second straight game, the Quakers have a 6-0 lead. Another face-off win by Kyle Gallagher. Though it's stripped away by the Hawks. A big ground ball by Boscher.
And for anyone who was with us Friday night, this is exactly where Penn was to start the game against Villanova, and Villanova didn't give up. So St. Joe's, they can chip away, but they're going to have to start scoring goals here.
Doran goes near side, and Junkin with the save. They got an offensive set, but that look from Doran not quite up to snuff.
Travis, I felt like it was all midfield initiated on Friday night. This has definitely been more attack initiated. Now, there's been some feeds from the midfield. That EMO goal was directly a feed from Hanley down to the low wing, but I feel like the attack is just a little bit more involved this game, and maybe that's a concentrated effort to try to get them more involved today, considering they did less of the work on Friday night.
Nice takeaway here from Liam Hare to get the Hawks the ball back. And they could really use a goal. Scoreless here for the first 18+ minutes. And this is the kind of offensive stretch that St. Joe's went through on Friday in the second half. Just 1 goal in the final 30 minutes against Drexel in the 10-7 loss. Domick to Strazula. Back across, shot sails high from Vernacchio. Once again, question mark for St. Joe's is who do you have who can carry and create without Shane Fable, who is out again today with the injury. Coach Ray told us he was doubtful coming into the weekend, and we have not seen him yet as there's a shot clock violation on the Hawks.
You said who can create. In lacrosse, it's a simple game. You have to beat your man and either score or beat your man and draw a double team and then find where that double team came from to create a 2-on-1 opportunity. So St. Joe's has yet to be able to do that. They've had a couple opportunities early, but they weren't able to capitalize. They missed the net on a few. Junkins made some saves. They can't get frustrated. They got to keep relying on the keys to that success, which means someone beating their man or working really, really hard to get open off ball. And then the last way is getting that up and down transition from the D end. And they've had a couple looks there as well, but just, again, haven't been able to capitalize, haven't been as crisp as they need to make that happen.
Hanley trying to find Bartolo. Tough pass. But Mitch able to get it back to an attackman. Gergara wanted the early hat trick, couldn't put home the quick stick.
Always happy to see another guy named Mitch having success on a lacrosse field. Not a common name out there.
Say yes, Mitch. Yes.
Nice little road trip reference.
It was old school.
Sorry, old school, right.
Your
other Tom Green
classics all figured out. Feed down on the doorstep. That was a good look as it was under 10 on the shot clock, but the Hawks pick it up. Let's see if the Hawks can get something going offensively here as we near the 10-minute mark of quarter number 2.
The Hawks had a little bit of an advantage there, weren't able to find the matchup, but that's okay. Now they have to figure out a way to break into that defense and find those seams.
Teo Domick trying to go downhill. Feeds it back out top. Vernacchio bounce shot is read by Junkin.
Great dodge there by Domick. I thought he did a nice job of dodging hard north-south and was able to draw. I wish he would have gone a little bit further before moving that ball, though, because he had a step there. He dodged really hard, and then they moved it. They didn't move it twice or quick enough to get it to the backside. They looked inside, and the opportunity was not bad, but that bounce shot, Junkin was all over.
Junkin with 7 early saves for Penn, keeping the shutout intact.
For a little bingo, we talked about that, the advantage in substitution where you get a man coming with a slight step on his man.
Oh, nice play. Another one goes for Simon Mathias. He's got a hat trick.
And that is like as classic dive as you can get. Once you have that positioning that he had, and we'll see in the replay, but he had a nice little stick fake to get the defense to take a step back. He fakes that little step, and then you have the underneath. And once you have that step and you're right around GLE, that's a prime example of where it's just impossible to stop that, because if a slide comes, he's already in the air, you can't stop him. And then defensively, the only thing you can do once he's in the air is push him into your goalie, which you don't want to do, and will be a penalty anyway. So great job, Mathias, diving away from that goal mouth, able to capitalize there, and Penn is now up 7-0 and starting to roll here.
What a terrific start for the Quakers once again, and another face-off win by Kyle Gallagher. Gallagher now winning 6 of the first 8 face-offs this afternoon.
Good to see some different names on the score sheet for Penn. I know with the 2 games, this is a great opportunity for Coach Murphy to get some other players involved.
And this is Tyler Dunn. Haven't seen a lot of him so far in these first quarter and a half. Stud midfielder for this Quakers team. In front, finally a save there by Adler. St. Joe's needed that.
Gergar was looking for his hat trick, and great save there by Adler. Adler, so athletic, does a nice job of staying big there. You know, the dive shot, you can't expect him to make that save, but those inside ones, when you can come up with a big save, that sparks your defense.
Let's see if it turns into offense at the other end. Struzula. The guy that Coach Ray wanted to slide up to the attack unit with Fable out to be able to be more of a ball carrier for this offense. Manti and Vernacchio, and just needs somebody to be able to create some sort of separation, get some good looks.
And this is where the youth definitely hurts. Right, who's going to step up? A freshman, a sophomore? That's who you're going to have to ask to step up, but do they feel comfortable? A nice shake there. You got to shoot that.
Campbell skips it back out top. Struzula battling, and it's taken away, but we have a whistle and a flag.
Looks like they're going to call a loose ball hold there. I think that probably should have been a flag, as you mentioned. He had the ball the whole time.
No penalty.
Good lift there, but yeah, they're going to call that a loose ball hold. I don't know where the ball got loose, but it was because of the hold.
St. Joe's keeps, there's no penalty.
But St. Joe's has been doing a much better job this possession, I think, of dodging hard. Now they just need to figure out what to do with it after they initiate that contact or get that separation. They've gotten a couple guys who've gotten a step or two. They just haven't found the next move, or they haven't gotten that extra step to get their hands free.
St. Joe's, the last goal they scored as Junkin makes his 8th save in the first 30 seconds of that 4th quarter on Friday against Drexel. Since then, nothing for the Hawks offense.
DJ Ferrari working hard to get that ball back after he dropped it in transition. And here's the transition that St. Joe's needs to start pushing, right? They're down. They can't get anything going 6-on-6. You got to take these opportunities when you have it. But they're exhausted. They're exhausted. They just played about 2 minutes of offense.
And they're going to call a timeout, talk things over, see if they can figure out something offensively. All Penn so far up 7-0 here on LSN.
Hey everybody, Tom Eschen here in the LSN studios. Time now for our Player of the Year watch. This week, Towson senior captain Brendan Sunday, who's having a breakout season for the top-ranked Tigers. He's already surpassed his point total from last season, and Towson's win over Loyola, especially scoring 4 goals and registering assists in one of the biggest wins of the lacrosse season. Sunday had 4 points, 2 goals and 2 assists in Towson's win over Jacksonville on Friday night in the Crown down in Charlotte. Sunday missed all of 2017 with an upper body injury and came back last year to score 23 points on 17 goals and 6 assists. As I mentioned already, he surpassed that total this year in his first 4 games. He's taking on number 2 Cornell in the Crown Classic this weekend. So it's Brendan Sunday this week. Who will it be next week? Check back each week this season for our Player of the Year watch right here on LSN.
Penn with a 7-0 lead as we are past the midway point of this second quarter. The final game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. The second of 2 in this doubleheader at Vidas Field on Sunday. Coming up at the half, we'll send you back inside the LSN Broadcast Center, get some first half highlights and some analysis from analyst Chris Marshall. Also break down what happened in the first game as Drexel scored an upset win over Villanova, the 11th ranked team in the country, going 0-2 on the weekend. Also check in on that Crown Lacrosse Classic. A couple of big games, including a big win for your Big Red, Mitch.
Yeah, Cornell coming out and doing what they needed to do to get a win after getting thumped pretty good on Friday night. So good to see them bounce back, and that really shakes up the standings, though.
Yeah, my top 20 poll. Maybe we'll get to it in the second half. It's going to be a disaster. Maybe you can help me out. I'm going to need some help.
Got a dartboard in here.
Yeah.
Put the teams up, throw some darts. I'll put 3 darts into Cornell, get them at number 1.
I don't know. Penn State's going to have a good argument after beating the Big Red on Friday.
Yeah.
They got to worry about Jacksonville later on this afternoon, though, the final game of that Crown Lacrosse Classic.
Yeah, that's what's really going to throw things off, is if Jacksonville wins that game. Then everything's up in the air.
You talk to the Drexel fans who just watched the Dragons win earlier today. They know a lot about Jacksonville. They hung 19 goals on Drexel last weekend. Penn forces another turnover. St. Joe's is really struggling against this solid Penn defense. Penn defense, whose numbers are a little deceiving because they gave up that 17-goal outburst to Duke on the road. Giving up 14 goals per game, but it's a defense that hung with Penn State, Maryland. Got some good athletes, some big bodies down there, and showing off what they've got so far this afternoon.
Yeah, being able to come in and get 2 wins here on this weekend, not have to travel. That's another benefit to this for all 4 of these teams. But having a weekend where you get 2 games without having to get on a bus or a flight, I mean, we talked about the delays that Drexel faced going down to Jacksonville, right? So, some of those were things that are, you don't have to worry about when you're local and at home. So these teams, Penn especially, is going to feel, assuming they can hang on here, but they're going to feel really good as they come up for the week of preparations. They head into the Ivy League schedule.
And remember, Villanova was down 6-0 to this Penn team on Friday. Came back in the third quarter and made it a 1-goal game at one point before the Quakers then responded.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying there's a chance. Gallagher continues to be terrific, the faceoff X, though, and that has been the spot that's really helped Penn finish things off on Friday night. The transfer from Hofstra, sitting at 57% on the season. He went 63% of the X on Friday night against the Wildcats.
Well, between that and Reed Junkin making the saves he needs to make, that right now you can see the St. Joe's guys are tentative to take.
Vernacchio! The Hawks finally on the board.
I say they're tentative to take those kind of shots, the outside shots. The inside shots, that's where they need to get to. Great individual effort by Vernacchio, getting inside his man and driving underneath and continuing his momentum in front of the cage, so that way he gets Junkin moving and can pick what side he wants to put the ball on. BJ Ferrari just got a little bit over aggressive there, reached out, and there was no slide there. Penn really hasn't had to slide, so they, I think, are kind of letting their defense play, but nice job by Vernacchio of taking that extra step to come inside and potentially risking getting popped. But that's what you got to do to make sure you score a goal.
Yeah, needed a guy to beat his man, and the Hawks finally do it. Snaps a 33-minute scoring drought if you take us all the way back to Friday night. It's got to feel really good for the Hawks, who now go to a different guy at the faceoff X, Billy Jardaleza, the backup, a sophomore from Austin, Texas. He was able to force it backward and force a ground ball, but Penn with a beat on it, and they scoop it up. And they'll take a timeout as they get possession, as Kyle Gallagher ran all over the place to finally pick up that loose ball.
Yeah, he's been a beast out there, and winning the clamp, fighting for it, staying on, and being an outlet. So that's what you ask for from your faceoff guys. Don't just be a faceoff guy. Be more than that. Be an athlete.
Sorry, it's a 40-minute. It was even longer. It's a 40-minute scoring drought for the Hawks. Between goals, they scored the first 30 seconds of the fourth quarter on Friday night against Drexel, but Drexel was able to finish by scoring the final 4 goals of that one. And then it took until late in this first half to score against the Quakers.
Yeah, and you wonder how much, knowing they were struggling to score, how much were they able to work on that over the course of Saturday to prepare for today? Not a ton, so it's kind of like you got to go with what you can do and then go back to the drawing board this week in practice. But you know who has been able to score? That's Penn.
Yeah, Simon Matthias with a hat trick early on, and the senior attackman from Ridgefield, Connecticut, putting on a show. And we entered this weekend, and Mike Murphy was pretty upfront with us, saying, look, we expect to get more out of Simon Matthias, and he has delivered so far today. He's entered this day with 7 goals. He's now up to 10 on the season, 13 points, and now second on the team in points so far this year.
Yeah, and he chipped away on Friday night. He wasn't all eyes weren't on him, but he contributed with goals, with assists. But then tonight, he's been the focus, and it's working for him. So it's working for the Penn offense. So by being able to kind of deflect some of that attention away from him on Friday night, now he can really shoulder the load and get back into a rhythm and lead that attack unit today.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about these 2 games in 3 days for all 4 of the programs in this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. All the coaches were, in a lot of ways, saying, we have a penalty on Kyle Gallagher.
They took his stick for the stick check, so that doesn't bode well, considering maybe that's why he's winning all those faceoffs. Maybe it's something magical going on with
It's illegal equipment, so they got him on the stick check for the face-off guy, and St. Joe's cashes in. Ryan Doran on the doorstep. The man-up goal for the Hawks.
Pretty simple play there. They just did a nice job of spinning the ball around and then going back against the grain. So the Penn defense, a little overconfident, thinking the ball is going back behind X. Really nice job by Nate Patterson feeding it back to Ryan Duran, and there's no one home. So nice work there. Not anything fancy, but really taking advantage of the defense, kind of being a little bit slow to go, a little bit lazy on the backside, and they capitalized with a nice 5-hole goal.
9th goal of the season for Ryan Doran. Let's cut it back to a 5-goal game of back-to-back goals for the Hawks.
Gentlemen, that was a non-releasable penalty. Should be 41 seconds left on the penalty.
And so it was the illegal equipment is a non-releasable penalty, as the refs are explaining on the sideline. So still 40+ seconds to work, and this will be a man-down face-off for Penn. And more importantly, if you're St. Joe's, you have the Penn face-off guy who has to serve the penalty.
Right, and that's a huge benefit, and that's where this might be their opportunity to start chipping away. They got extra players. They've got the guy that's been their thorn in their side in the box. You have to try to get this face off and take advantage as many times as you can.
Let's see if Zach Cole can take advantage. The freshman face-off guy for the Hawks. Instead, it's Richie Lenskold, the senior for Penn, who's in there to win the face-off. Goes out of bounds, but it's off of St. Joe's, so Penn wins the man-down face-off without their starting face-off guy.
Yeah, unfortunately for St. Joe's, it looks like Penn's depth extends to the face-off X as well.
Tyler Dunn splits the double. And we'll have a chance to try to run out this man up. Shows the athleticism of the senior from Manhasset.
He's absolutely shredded. Teammates saying he looks like Ivan Drago from Rocky when he takes his shirt off.
That's what teammates said about you too at Cornell, right?
Didn't have the Russian thing going for me, but
back to even strength, and Adam Goldner puts one home.
Penn earning their man back after that penalty expiring. Sometimes that's almost like a fake transition as the defense is either doubling or not sure completely on the matchup. That's one that Adler's going to wish he had back kind of right at the head. He thought he was going high and was ready to pop up on it. It just goes past his stick, but nice finish there by Goldner. Goldner had a few goals on Friday night and contributing, chipping in tonight.
Yeah, Goldner 3 points in the win over Villanova, 2 goals and an assist. Mitch Bartolo picking up the helper on that goal. And so he's got a couple of points. And things have been spread around quite nicely for the Quakers so far in this 8-2 start. And back in there, hopefully now with a legal stick, Gallagher wins it to himself and gets another possession for Penn. Another tough matchup for Liam Hare as he's marking Simon Mathias.
St. Joe's back to the man-to-man, extending out, seeing if they can continue contain. Looks like they might be sliding early. Key is going to be how can they cover up on the backside after they slide.
McCarty loses it, gets it back to Gergar. What a catch by Goldner. Left-handed, couldn't put it on frame.
Yeah, the dodge down the same side and kind of the throw back against your body. We've seen that by both teams, and it works well typically for a shot right away. But if you re-dodge, then everyone's already contained over there, and you're running back into a big group of people. So if that first throwback shot isn't there, typically you're going to want to either move it again or drive to the opposite side where the defense isn't.
Matthias's pass goes all the way through to Goldner. He's got back-to-back goals.
And that's just an unfortunate one for St. Joe's. They did a nice job of covering up inside. The ball trickles through to Goldner, and Goldner's able to step down and set his feet, and he's feeling it right now. But part of that is the St. Joe's defense. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players inside that red arc. That's the lines from the soccer field. That's 3, 4 yards above GLE, so everyone is packed down low. So Goldner was, no matter what, going to have time. So you got to keep a couple guys a little bit higher up, and this is where things the wheels start coming off a little bit, as you start packing in, and then you got to run out, and then you run out, and then you got to pack in. So they got to find that happy medium, slide when they need to, but not send everybody.
And Adler just staring down the barrel with Goldner bearing down on him. Nobody in the way, and then another face-off win for Gallagher, and the Aunts finish out this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Quakers looking to go 2-0 on the weekend after the win over number 11 Villanova on Friday. Dunn, back to Goldner. Matthias, who has Hanley behind the cage with him. Falling down, kick save by Adler.
Big save by Adler there. And PENN just swarming those balls, trying to get the ball back. St. Joe's able to do just enough to earn that ball back through a push call. Now they got to clear and get it to their offense with a little bit of time to try to chip away at this lead before the half ends.
They can hold for the last shot. The shot clock won't matter with just 35 seconds left in this first half. Still need to get it over in time, and they do.
The way face-offs are going, they might want to hold it, but they're down so many that they got to score, so.
Shot from downtown, saved by Junket again. He's already got 9 stops in this first half.
Yeah, the tough part about that, Travis, is none of those have been particularly tough saves. Those are saves that he feels pretty good about. They're 15, 14 yards out.
Junkin all the way down to the other end. PENN looking to add one more, but they can't. And brings us to the end of the first half. What a start by the Quakers. They led 7-0 in this first half at Vitus Field, and they enter the break up 9-2. They included 3 goals and an assist from Simon Matthias and a pair from Adam Goldner. The Quakers cruising so far, looking to go 2-0 on the weekend. It's all coming up gold for the Quakers. Let's go back inside the LSN Broadcast Center for the halftime report.
Welcome into the LSN Broadcast Center for this Lacrosse Now post-game show. We just wrapped up the first half of St. Joseph's and PENN, and PENN's doing something right, apparently. They're up 9-2.
PENN's doing a lot right. They're getting a lot of good bounces. Everything seems to be going their way. 9-2 after the first half over St. Joseph's. PENN's starting to roll. I think they had a lot of confidence, even despite being 0-3 going into this weekend, and for a good reason for that. But we also had another huge game going down at the Crown Classic for the Crown Lacrosse weekend. Number 1, number 2, Towson and Cornell. Let's get to the first quarter of this one. Kobe Smith for Towson. We've seen him do this quite a few times this year. The pole goal, 1-0 Towson at that point, and he's flexing for sure. It's still 1-0 Towson. A little bit later, they're starting well. There's Brendan Sunday winding and firing. 2-0 Towson up early. It's 2-1, and then Clark Pedersen starts to get things going. Jeff Teat, you see that a lot. Streak over the middle to the left, finding Pedersen over the middle. 2-1 Towson. Another quick goal there. Luke Frommert, a couple goals in a row to make it 4-1. And then Kobe Smith, when they're up 2, he scores again. His second goal in the first. 5-2 Towson. Later on in the first, after he's done celebrating, because the celebrating would end pretty soon, look at this pass from Teat to Pedersen. So smooth. 5-3. Cornell down 2, down 1 here. Here's Pedersen again, right in the middle, gathers and scores right in front of the net. He's saying, feed me as it's tied, and feed him they will. In the second, still tie game. Pedersen again, he's starting to feel it, getting knocked to the ground. The bench is going wild. He feels strong. Cornell takes a 1-goal lead. Later on in the second, that ball bounces off Tyler Canto's stick right to who else? It's Pedersen. Johnny on the spot, 12-6 Cornell at the half. 14-7 Cornell. We go to the second half. It's Teat to Piatelli this time. John Piatelli, who had 4 goals himself. Pedersen had 8 goals in the first half. Piatelli had 4 goals. Teat with 4 assists. And Cornell goes on to win 18-11. Yeah, it wasn't even that close. Towson got the early lead, and Cornell going on to win 18-11. You saw Frommer, he had 2 goals, 2 assists. Colby Smith had a couple goals as well. So number 1 going down in Charlotte. What a game.
That was a good game. All right, so how about we recap you on the game, the first half that we just wrapped up between St. Joseph's and Penn. We go early. Penn would be on the board first, and they would get on the board a lot of times here. Here's this Alex Rosner, who's right out front. And then later, Sam Hanley passes down the middle to Simon Matthias, who comes up from the side of the net with an underhand left corner and makes it 2-0. And they would just keep rolling. 12 seconds left in the first quarter. That's Alex Rosner making it 4-0. And then now they're up 5-0. Sam Hanley to Dylan Gerger. Outside, he shoots. But St. Joe's will get on the board. That's by Nick Vernacchio, who scores for them to make it 7-1. They scored again. Penn now leads 9-2 at the half. A lot going great for Penn, and that's also all because of Simon. He has 3 goals, 1 assist. Gerger, 2 goals. And Junkin, 9 saves. At one point, his percentage was 100%. He allowed 2 goals in that last part of that second quarter, but he's having an amazing night. And so far, St. Joe's struggling just a little bit against Penn.
It's hard to shut a team out, so St. Joe's getting a couple goals there. I mean, it wasn't going to be 100%, I guess, the whole time.
It could have happened.
You never know. You never know.
First half could have happened.
All right, we got Chris Marshall here on Skype to help break some things down for us. And Chris, I mean, Penn just seems like at this point they felt like going to this weekend that they could really start flexing their muscle a little bit after getting that win on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the front end of their schedule, and they had some really tough games. And, no one's going to fault them for taking losses in those games. But I thought that they were a better team than their record, obviously. But I think you look at the real catalyst. Obviously, they're scoring goals, but Reed Junkin has really been playing at a higher level. You look at the games coming into this weekend. He was below 45% in terms of his save percentage. He was 50% in the game earlier this week, and then he's at 81, almost 82% now. And he started with 8 saves before he even let one in. So he's playing at a really high level right now, and I think that's making all the difference in the world. You feed off the confidence of your goalie and your defense, and right now the offense is looking sharp as well.
And if for St. Joseph's side, besides the obvious, they need to score, but what is happening to them and what's not working for them, and what do they need to do coming into the second half?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, they're struggling at the face-off X. I mean, you look at 10 for 12 going the way of Penn, and it's tough to score when you don't have the ball. So you're running into a hot face-off guy in Gallagher who's 9 for 11, and then you're running into a hot goalie. I mean, it's tough to build confidence and score goals when you've got 2 of those special position players really playing at a high level. Adler, I think, is an excellent goalie. He doesn't have his best stuff right now, but also I think Penn is shooting really well, especially at the end of the first quarter and into the second when they really started to find their flow. They were shooting very well. So, I mean, he's let in 9. He's made 4 saves. I think if he gets hot, they can get back into this game. But they dug themselves a pretty substantial hole to try and get out of at this point.
Do you think it's a hole they can dig out of, Chris?
Frankly, I do not. I think Penn has an awful lot of talent. They've had a lot of talent the last couple of seasons. A number of guys on the U19 team. Reed Junkins is experienced as any goalie in the country in terms of the minutes that he's played. And when you've got a faceoff guy that's playing as well as Gallagher is, and a goalie that's playing as well as Junkin is, and you're putting goals in the net, it's going to be tough to catch you. So I think it'll take a Herculean effort from St. Joe's in the second half. But I'm not sure they've got it left in the tank.
Yeah, so let's talk about the first highlight there and during this halftime show. Towson and Cornell. I think it's the first time we've really seen Towson struggle defensively all year long. Even in some of their close games, they still have played good defense. But that Cornell attack unit really playing well, even without Jeff Teat scoring a goal.
Yeah, and I think you look at what they were able to do. Peterson with 8 Gs in the first half. And Teat with 4 helpers, and he's a guy that's been an assist-heavy guy over the course of his collegiate career. But I think you also see the amount of attention that he gets. I went to the Northwestern BC women's game last night, and Apuzzo didn't have her best stuff, but she takes so much attention that it's in a similar way to Jeff Teat. So I think you look at everyone looking at him, and it opens some things up for the other players. I mean, what's surprising to me is that they were able to score so many goals despite the fact they got absolutely torched face-off X. I mean, 26 for 32 for Towson. Woodall was 22 for 26. I mean, he had a great game. So they needed to make the most of their opportunities, and they were able to do it. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward with this Towson squad. Canto had been the guy. Obviously, he made that spectacular save that got them to #1. Got yanked for Shane Brennan, who had previously been the starter. Neither goalie had all that much success, but it'll be interesting to see what the decision is moving forward between those two goalies.
And let's quickly talk about the second game that's going on at the Crown Classic. Penn State getting ready to take on Jacksonville. That game just started. Jacksonville gets on the board first. It's 1-0. We saw Penn State play an amazing game the first day of the Crown Lacrosse Classic. How can Jacksonville really stop this Penn State offense and grant a mint?
I don't think anyone has the answer to that. I think you look at Grant Ament and how well he's been playing this season. I mean, he's close to hanging 10 a game on people, and nobody really has an answer. I think the only way to stop him is to prevent him from getting the ball. So I think if I were doing it, I'd probably just put my most athletic player on him and not let him touch the ball and just play 5-on-5. But I think this might be an uphill battle for Jacksonville. What I do know is that they're very well coached and the goalie will be prepared. So, stranger things have happened, but it's hard to think that Penn State, with potentially an opportunity to overtake the #1 spot, is going to come away with an L against Jacksonville.
Real quick, Chris, that was my question. If Penn State wins, are they #1 over Cornell? Will they leapfrog Cornell after beating them on Friday?
Maybe. I just looked back through the poll and the results, and I think there are 4 or 5 teams. I think anyone that's ahead of 6 right now and has 1 loss could get a #1 vote. I mean, Yale's in the mix. Duke is in the mix. Frankly, Notre Dame is playing very well right now as well. So I think that we're going to see more teams get #1 votes than we've seen in a long time.
Have you figured out your #1 just yet?
I still need to think about it. I like Yale. I mean, if Penn State gets a victory, I like Penn State. I haven't completely, crossed Cornell off the board despite the loss to Penn State because they were so impressive today. So, I mean, it's going to be real splitting hairs here down the wire.
Ooh, I can't wait till Monday. Drama. I love it.
It's going to be fun weekend for sure. Thank you so much, Chris, for checking in. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, so later tonight we've got all the highlights from the Crown, of course, down in Charlotte. And from this game, reaction, much more analysis at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Lacrosse Now, as always, right here on Lax Sports Network. So we're going to get you out to the second half in Philly right now, actually. You've got Travis and Mitch on the call looking for a comeback from St. Joe's.
It could be a comeback, or we just might see Penn just go bananas and just score so much more goals.
Which also is fun to watch.
That is too.
Just tune in. Keep on tuning in, and we'll have more later after the game.
Getting ready for the second half at Vitus Field, the final game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic, the inaugural event, and it has been all Quakers to finish out this 4th of 4 games, up 9-2 at the half over St. Joe's, including a 9 of 11 face-off performance from that guy, Kyle Gallagher. Travis Eldridge, Mitch Bilal back with you, and Mitch, it was a red-hot start for the Quakers.
Yeah, Penn has done a great job of moving the ball. They've capitalized on man-up, and ultimately they've just had the ball in their sticks in their offensive end a lot more than St. Joe's has. So nice work capitalizing when they can, and then defensively they've really locked it down. St. Joe's really only being able to get to the middle 1 or 2 times and then read junk and bailing them out from everything on the outside.
Yeah, Junkin with 9 saves in that first half for Penn. Matthias leading the way with 3 goals and an assist. You also have Sam Hanley, who starred on Friday night with the 4 goals and 3 assists against Villanova. He's got a couple of helpers. Adam Goldner finished that first half strong with 2 goals. Really, Penn getting it done from all over the place. Quakers looking to finish off this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic at 2-0, which would be quite the turnaround as they entered this weekend 0-3 on the year.
Yeah, 9 of their goals have been assisted, so that just shows what kind of team ball they're playing. That's huge. St. Joe's, they've got 2 goals, one of those 2 being assisted, the other coming off of an individual effort. So they're going to have, St. Joe's is going to have to start chipping away here. You know, they're not able to win faceoffs, and they're going to have to find a way to get the ball to their offense and then make something happen there.
The St. Joe's team, if you haven't been with us throughout the weekend, so young, 85% freshmen and sophomores, just 2 seniors on this entire roster. This is certainly a teaching moment for Coach Tyler Ray and this program, trying to find a way to dig out of a giant hole. And they have Zach Cole in there for the faceoff. He's the traditional faceoff guy, but he went out there with a pole.
I thought he was holding his stick kind of funny. I didn't notice until he stood up that it was extra long.
It's an interesting strategy. I don't know if I've ever seen that from a traditional faceoff guy just going out there with a pole instead.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to lose it, if you can lose it and contest it, maybe that's the thought and get the wings in there, but that was not as effective as maybe they'd hoped, and I don't expect to see that again.
I wonder if Greg Gorenlian's watching. I got to get some insight from the faceoff guru. Goldner sends it behind to Matthias. He's got his man hung up. Simon Matthias, 4 points in the first half. Ball ends up back in his stick. Now back out to Vernacchio.
That was Goldner,
Excuse me,
I think.
Goldner. He's got a trio. I got my teams mixed up.
Goldner, that's what we call a natural hat trick. 3 goals in a row for Goldner. 2 of those have just kind of found him on the outside and let him step down and score. Great job picking that ball. Hanley flips it up to Matthias. Matthias kicks it back out top, and that's just good, crisp ball movement. I think that was one thing we noticed between Drexel and St. Joe's, that it wasn't as crisp on Friday night, while as Penn and Villanova was a little bit more smooth, and you're seeing that Penn is carrying over the ability to quickly get the ball up, move it 1, 2, 3 times, and then find that open man for a shot.
I see some of the frustration for Mike Adler. He's a terrific goalie, a guy who was the starter all season last year for St. Joe's, had a goals against average close to 8, stopped nearly 60% of the shots he saw, but it has been a tough afternoon for him and a frustrating one as Penn has had the ball for the majority of the time. St. Joe's trying to win this ground ball. They finally do. Strazula picks it up. Give the Hawks their first offense set of the second half.
Yeah, you can't blame Adler for most of these goals. I would say there's maybe one that he wished he had back. Everything else is looking back. You have the Canadian egg roll to start things off, a couple more sniffing around the crease, a couple more rebound type goals. So a lot of opportunities for the Penn offensive players to take a good look, get Adler moving, and then shoot as hard as they can. So when your goalie's put in that situation, you really got to ask him to stand on his head to expect saves.
This is Vernacchio, number 20 for St. Joe's. Junkin may have gotten a little help from the post behind him, and he makes a stop.
Yeah, just great positioning by Junkin. He knows that the only place that Vernacchio can shoot is that far side by hugging that pipe, and immediately brings his stick in his body over that way. And so did a nice job of scooping that up and getting it out of the backside of the cage.
A turnover there in the clear, though. Gives it right back to the Hawks. They go back to work with Manti. Strazula couldn't handle that pass.
Manti was a big piece of the offense on Friday night. We haven't said his name too much this game, so if they can get him involved, that'll definitely bode better for their offensive output. It's the second time in a row where Penn's had a chance to get the ball, and they've turned it back over, so making it harder on themselves than it has to be.
Hawks trying to replace 83% of their scoring from last year as there's a takeaway at the top of the box. Piper Bond, the short stick, right down the middle. Shot just bounces too high. Right there at the doorstep, Adler with a great stop.
Well, that's where you talk about asking for some big plays from your goalie to spark you. That was a big save wide open on the doorstep, and he was able to lock it down.
See if St. Joe's can settle in, get a good look. Hawks team went 11-4 last year. They swept the NEC, going 6-0, lost a heartbreaker in overtime of the NEC championship game to Robert Morris. You remember, Robert Morris last year had such a terrific season, ended up giving Maryland a little bit of a run in the first round of the NCAA tournament. That pass just right into the stick of Penn.
And really doing a nice job of forcing those St. Joe's Dodgers down the alleys where they can't get anything going. And so St. Joe's trying to skip through the middle, which they had success with on Friday night, and Penn is just able to knock those down, pick those off, and make that impossible.
Some sloppiness to start the second half between these two.
An 8-goal lead. The question is, when do you start seeing the Penn reserves come in? I mean, 8 goals is not that much, but 1 or 2 more, and you might see some other players in.
Vernacchio with a crease dive and a finish.
Nice job by Vernacchio on capitalizing on a little bit of over-aggressive play by the Penn defender. He was going for that stick check and really trying to get into him. Ben Bedard getting a little over-aggressive with the stick, and again, nice play of diving from the outside of the crease across the face of the crease, so you're not going towards that goal mouth, making it very difficult to slide. So we see the slide comes, and there's just no way to hit a diving player through the air in a way that's going to be effective.
Vernacchio being checked out on the sideline. He says, oh, he's okay. Faceoff went right back for Kyle Gallagher. He has been terrific today.
Zach Cole does have a long pole again, so I was wrong in terms of changing that strategy.
Nope,
but
keep doing it.
It was ineffective again, so.
What an effective transfer that's been for Penn. In talking to Mike Murphy, he admitted that the faceoff position has been a spot maybe throughout his entire career at Penn that they haven't been real good. He's like, we struggle to get to 50% just about every year. And Kyle Gallagher coming from Hofstra has been a huge bright spot for this program.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I feel like unless you have a well-known faceoff guy, every team has struggled at points. And when you get those great guys, that's why you hear their name, because having a very successful guy is such a big advantage.
You saw a faceoff man go #1 overall again in the MLL draft last night is Zach Woodall.
A little moving pick there by Penn in the offensive end, gave St. Joe's a chance, but they weren't able to scoop that or corral that ball on a tough pass.
Alex Woodall. I've mixed up the 2 great players from Towson. As Alex Woodall went #1 overall at the Ohio Machine, we got a flag down. 1 minute penalty on Kivette Postel on a cross check.
Oh, there it is. It was later in the play. I thought the first one might have been a cross check.
Second one definitely was.
As Josh Bozer was trying to find that ball, but then Kivette came across with a little cross check across the chest. Nothing malicious, but that's going to be a penalty.
If the Hawks can take advantage, try to chip away at this Penn lead.
And seems a little disjointed over there right now. St. Joe's wasn't able to move the ball quick enough to get to that side of the field.
Struzula's shot kicked away. The fresh 80 seconds. Keep time on the man up.
Penn sideline not making much of an effort to find the ball there for St. Joe's.
Time.
You go get it.
You guys have beaten us 2 of the last 3 years. You can get your own ball.
Those are the skip passes we talked about. Penn just being great in those lanes. They've got tall, rangy defensemen. Make that pass impossible to throw, or if they do throw it, take it away.
Noah Lehman with the steal, a guy who's missed the last 2 years with injuries. Part of that big recruiting class that includes the likes of Simon Matthias.
I was really impressed by him on Friday night. I thought he was all over the field and made a huge impact. Tonight he hasn't had to step up so big, but we'll see if he continues to contribute on the defensive end.
Bozier feeds across to Doran. Hawks still man up. We got another flag down. Excuse me, no, we're back to even strength. And the Hawks are going to go back on the man up, depending on the result of this play. Evan Campbell, marked by Piper Bond. Bond sends it behind. Free possession here for the Hawks with the flag down. Doran trying to roll near side. Can get it to go. Let's take a look at the penalty.
Tyler Dunn out there throwing his weight around. That was like the old Madden football game where you miss the hit stick and you stumble towards a guy. Exactly. Got the first one. That's a penalty. Went for the second one. Guy saw him coming and moved over.
I mean, you might as well. If you're going to get one flag, you might as well just get a couple extra shots in there.
Yeah, it's a push with possession. It's not that 30 seconds well worth it.
Nice Mighty Ducks reference.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad you didn't mix that up like I screwed up the old school one. The only 2 or 3 movies that have the name Mitch in them.
Strazula shot sails wide. Renacchio, 2 goals, 2 of the 3 for the Hawks today. Back out top to Strazula, but Junkin is up to the challenge. Now 12 saves on the afternoon.
Junkin just looks dialed in. Every shot, you never feel like he's guessing. He knows exactly where those shooters are shooting. Part of that is St. Joe's shots are coming from a little bit further outside, and so he has time, but he's definitely dialed in today.
Now double-digit saves in all 5 games this season for Reed Junkin.
When you have a goalie like that you can rely on, that makes life so much easier as a defense. You have that level of trust. You can be a little slower on your slides. You can let teams take those outside shots. So you don't have to extend out as much. That makes a big, big difference.
Kivette Pastel feeds it front. Adler up to the challenge as well. But a turnover in the clear. Back to Matthias in front. Rosner saved.
Wow, Adler says, all right, Junkin, I see what you're doing. I'll see that. That should have been a hold there on Matthias, and that's what they call it.
Yep. Give it back to the Hawks. We saw Mike Adler's brother Max get a chance to make a pick for the Denver Outlaws last night in the MLL draft. As they're bearing down on his brother again. Matthias and another save by Adler.
Wow, Adler is keeping this thing in check. If he's not making those saves, this is getting out of hand fast. So huge saves by Mike Adler. A couple doorstop kick saves, using every part of his body.
Now up to 8 saves on the day for Mike Adler, the sophomore from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Told his story on Friday. Was surfing and was attacked by a shark. It kept him out of part of the recruiting time, and so he was kind of a late bloomer when it came to the recruiting circuit. And one of the reasons he ended up at St. Joe's is because his team in the state finals played against Tony Seaman's team, the now head coach of the Denver Outlaws. Seaman called up Coach Taylor Ray and said, hey, I got a guy if you need one. And Mike Adler has since become a 2-year starter for the Hawks in his first 2 seasons in college.
And Shark Whisperer.
And Shark Whisperer. Haven't had a chance to talk to him. I'd love to know if he still surfs after that.
Crazy enough, it seems like those surfers, they do.
I know. I mean, if you have to, and you play goalie in this game, you got to be a little crazy, right?
Exactly.
Got a loose ball scrum with a shot clock winding down, and it's a violation. It'll give it back to Penn.
Ryan Doran picked that up and ran into about 6 guys, including Reed Junkin, goalie, defenseman, midfielders all collapsing down on him. He had nowhere to go and no clock left to run.
Yeah, not a good spot. Simon Matthias clears it.
Dances on the midline, so that's probably a point of question the over and back call, right? Why can he go over and then back? It's 20 seconds to get over, but in that first 20 seconds, you can pretty much go anywhere you want on the field. You can go over and back as long as it's in your offensive end by 60, and then at that point, then you're not allowed to go back over the midline. So smart play there by Matthias, able to go back onto his side to create some more space. Then when he comes back, he's just got to keep it over there after that 20 seconds has elapsed.
The Sam Hanley and Tyler Dunn back in there, a couple of guys who had big parts of that win on Friday against Villanova.
St. Joe's throwing a little lumber out there, just starting to let the frustrations show. Refs are letting the boys play.
Oh, what a fake by Dunn. Gets to the middle, but he's taking it away. Wow. Be down in front. It's a shot clock violation for the Quakers.
Nice kill there by St. Joe's, killing that shot clock and getting a couple stops there when they needed them.
Dunn almost had one for the highlight reel.
Yeah, nice little fake, but good job by the defense collapsing and making sure he had nowhere to go. St. Joe's got to start putting some points on the board if they want to stay in this game.
Under 4 minutes to go in this third quarter. Final game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Patterson's got his man hung up. Still plenty of time as well. Just tosses it back to Campbell. Manti on the run, saved by Junkin. Back up. Goes to the Quakers. Great hustle from Reed Junkin.
He's having a day. And now I expect to see, as you get down towards the end of this third quarter, expect to see some more seniors, some more second and third line midfielders. So wouldn't be surprised if we got some numbers out there that we haven't seen earlier in this game as we get down. Maybe they finish out this third quarter with their starters, but with the game pretty well in hand for Penn, good opportunity to get some experience for either those older guys or guys that you might need to count on way down the stretch as you get into the playoff run.
Here is a senior in Rosner. Skip pass, couldn't find its way all the way through to Matthias. He's got to go backtrack to get it. Lolly with a low roller. 11-3 Penn.
Lolly was getting a little bit jealous of Matthias and Goldner, saying, you guys each got hat tricks. I need to start chipping in here. Good job working in the crease. He does that small C cut out and then towards the ball. That makes it harder for the defense to get that second slide into him. Nice job there by Rosner of engaging his man, drawing that slide towards him, and then finding that open man inside. So good work by just two crafty players, and then a great finish on the inside by Lolly.
Rosner didn't have any points in the first 4 games of the season. He's got a goal and a couple assists today. Senior from Loyola Blakefield putting up a nice performance as he's seen a good bit of run here this afternoon against St. Joe's.
Those MIAA guys, you don't see those in the Ivy League quite as much. I feel like you used to, but they're starting to get more and more guys up north of the border from those Maryland schools, the powerhouses like Boys Latin, and you see them a lot of times down at the ACC schools, the Dukes, the UNCs.
You got Pat Spencer at Loyola. Got to get him away from Baltimore.
Exactly. You can take the kid out of
Hopkins,
Baltimore.
Even Townsend has been able to snag a couple of guys from those MIAA schools. Part of the reason they were able to get to #1 in the country, but Cornell knocking them off today. Tigers going to drop down in the rankings. Heavy lies the crown. Sam Hanley hands free, and that one off the post.
Mike Adler's best friend jumping in to make a save there.
Some good help. The kind of buddy you like. Oof.
Tyler Dunn had to get out of the way of the rebound and almost took his leg off.
Tell you what, Sam Hanley at 6'5", 215. As he continues to get in an Ivy League weight program, look out for this kid as he is just a freshman.
Right, with some of these kids that are coming out that are so big, so strong, if they can stay healthy, it's just a matter of time before we're going to be, blown away by what some of these players can do.
And you look at the size of some of the best offensive players we're seeing now. Brendan Sunday at 6'5" for Towson. Pat Spencer at 6'3" at Loyola. You got some guys that have some tremendous size who have decided to play lacrosse, and it's at times changing the game.
Absolutely, and the overall size and speed of the game has certainly gone up over the last few years, and I think it's only going to continue to do so. There's always going to be room for small, quick, shifty guys, and that's what I do think is the beauty of our sport. You don't have to be big, but as everybody gets bigger and more athletes start playing this game, you're only going to see bigger, faster, stronger athletes like you do across the board in all sports.
Strazula rolls, and he finally gets one past Reed Junkin. Got a flag down as well, so maybe an and one coming for the Hawks.
Nice job by Strazula, protecting his stick, continuing to work that one-on-one matchup. And ultimately, that's what we're seeing here is St. Joe's needs to beat these one-on-one matchups, and then once they start doing that, that's when other opportunities and options open up. But by getting that one-on-one matchup, driving in, and then using a little inside roll, he tucks his stick, and again, with that new crease dive rule, as long as he's not diving towards the goalie, that's a great play and a good opportunity to have a little bit more time to free his hands.
And a cross check on Noah Lehman, so 1 minute extra man for St. Joe's coming with just under 30 seconds to go in this third quarter.
Penalty on number 41, Noah Lehman, cross checking 1 minute.
There will be a face-off. It'll be a man-down face-off. Not that Kyle Gallagher has needed his wings today.
They still got Zach Cole in there with the long pole.
Trying to figure something out against Gallagher.
Well, and Gallagher does such a nice job. They called them for illegal. Maybe it was stuck in the back of his stick, but yeah, he's done such a nice job of using his body, so he wins the clamp, and then despite Zach Cole having a long pole, when you protect it with your body, there's nothing for Zach Cole to check there.
Yeah, I mean, Gallagher has now won 12 of 16 faceoffs. He has 9 ground balls in those 12 wins. 10 seconds left. St. Joe's a little confused. They got to go if they want to operate here in the first part of this extra man. At this point, you got to just hold it. That's what they'll do. So the Hawks have an extra man opportunity to start the final frame, but Penn in control of this one. Quakers on a roll, looking to go to 2-0 on the weekend. We'll be back with the fourth quarter here on LSN.
Get ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75+ breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinenkugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Welcome back to the final game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Penn looking to close out a 2-0 weekend to get to 2-3 on the season, up 11-4 entering the fourth. Travis Eldridge, Mitch Belisle back with you, and Mitch, Reed Junkin has been really good again. 14 saves so far today.
Yeah, he just looks so comfortable in there. Every shot that comes his way, it looks like he knows exactly where that's going, and sometimes I talk about getting in the zone. It seems like he is in the zone here.
14 saves today. That is a season high. His career high is 20 saves last year against Princeton. But he now has double-digit saves in all 5 of the Quakers games so far this year. The man-up continues here for St. Joe's, but a takeaway by Penn, and he ends up back in Junkin's crease.
Nice job by Penn, just picking off that pass again. St. Joe's has to work harder to get in and out and find those openings, because right now they're just relying on what looks open, and then Penn snatches it away.
Penn team looking to make a terrific turnaround this weekend. Quakers squad that has one of the most difficult schedules in the country, opening up the season with 3 games against teams in the top 5. Maryland, Duke, and Penn State, 2 of those games 1-goal games. And then finally able to get a win over a ranked opponent on Friday at Villanova. Now looking to get closer to 500 and sit there at 2-3 and after this weekend.
Travis, is Villanova ranked after this weekend?
That's a really good question. And you look at everything that's happened around college lacrosse, it's a toss-up, because Villanova still has a really good win over Yale, able to take down Hofstra, but you just lost to Penn and Drexel, 2 teams that entering the week were unranked. So what do you do with them? There are a lot of teams that probably are deserving of a top 20 ranking, so it'll come down to the end. If they do hang on, I think they end up somewhere at 19 or 20.
You know, my favorite thing about the rankings are, Travis, is they don't matter.
They don't matter at all.
They don't matter. It's for us, people like us, to worry about. And I remember my senior year at Cornell, we were ranked #1 in the country the whole year, and all year long our coach said, don't look at the rankings. Don't worry about the rankings.
It went straight to your head.
Heading at Selection Sunday, don't worry about the rankings. We're not going to get a 1 seed. And sure enough, we got a 4 seed. We ended up playing Duke in the semifinals. Everyone was hoping for us to play Duke in the finals, but the way it worked out, we ended up playing them in the semifinals in a crazy back-and-forth game. But the rankings really don't matter. So it does because it counts important wins, but at the end of the day, it's all about those high-level wins and then getting it done in your conference.
Well, and that's the thing for both these teams. This is they inch toward conference play as you got a shot through from Domick and it hit the post. If Reed Junkin hasn't stopped it, his goal mouth has helped.
Teo Domick, nice job getting underneath. I don't know why he didn't dive there, right? That's what we've seen the couple times where it's worked. They've gotten underneath their defenseman and then dove across that goal mouth to increase their angle, and he just stopped and tried to shoot it. And I honestly don't know how that ball didn't go in, but if he had just taken that dive or one more step, I think he would have had a better shot at putting that in the back of the net.
Here's the thing about the rankings, I will say, back to that point, is that I think in a lot of ways, the media members who watch lacrosse, and especially now, when you can essentially watch or go back and watch just about any game you want, I think they pay maybe more attention than people have in the past to everything going around. So I think at some points, there are teams that are getting recognition like a High Point after what they did at the beginning part of the season that maybe haven't gotten that recognition in the past, or maybe otherwise may not get that recognition. And, you know, once they get into conference play, you almost forget about them because in some of these conferences, they aren't tested as much.
Right, and that's a great point, that they do get a little bit more of that national recognition, and so much of that happens early, and that is the tough part, because the early games are the testers, and then you end up in your conference playing. If your conference isn't a top dog, then maybe you don't have a tough game every week. So it really does come down to win your conference, right? And then you're in.
And then you don't have to worry about anything else.
Exactly.
Well, you think about St. Joe's last year, it's a perfect example. Robert Morris was one of the hot teams nationally with the upset win they had over Penn State early on in the season. I believe they beat Marquette as well in the non-conference, but unless Robert Morris knocks off St. Joe's in overtime of the NEC championship game, they aren't going to the NCAA tournament.
Right. They struggled so far this year, and they lost a lot offensively.
Yeah.
So going to be a challenge there. But like you said, they have a shot at winning the NEC still, and that is where I do like that aspect of things. Is any team is still in it as they head into their conference play.
That skip pass didn't get through. By the way, the NEC is going to be a fun conference to watch. Sort of like the SoCon that we've seen some teams have some success. I don't know if you watched your Cornell team open up against Hobart, but that Hobart team can sling it. They're in the NEC a contender. Robert Morris, of course. And then you always have to remember Bryant and Coach Pressler in Rhode Island. They are always a tough out. See Tyler Dunn draw a flag.
Yeah, talent abounds in every conference these days, and it's exciting. It's good for the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah, it really is. Dunn tried to collect it and keep the thing alive. Go on the man up here for the Quakers. Tell you what, if there's somebody I'm going to push on Penn, I don't think it's Tyler Dunn.
He definitely was letting everyone know after the end of that play that he can dish it out just as well as he can take it.
A senior from Manhasset, New York, another one of those guys that was part of the U19 team that won gold in 2016. Dunn, of course, also selected in the Major League Lacrosse draft last night.
Those guys now get to enjoy their entire college season without distraction, as the MLL doesn't start until after that's over. Different from in past years where maybe the team that you get picked by is 3, 4, 5 games in by the time you join them. So I feel like that's going to be a nice change where guys can contribute for the entire season.
Goldner trying to find some space, shot deflected. And I'm talking to MLL coaches throughout this past week, getting ready for last night's MLL draft. It's going to be interesting because a majority of the guys, with the exception of the 8 teams that make the quarterfinals, or really maybe the 4 teams that make the Final Four, rookies are going to get a chance for the first time to be in at least part of training camp.
Exactly, and that's, I think, building that team chemistry. They're going to be a bigger part of the teams, other than the key contributors, which you're always going to be a big part of the team, but more role players are going to be able to make MLL rosters and be contributors throughout the course of the season than ever before, which is exciting.
Bartolo back to Dunn.
You just get the feeling right now that the Penn is kind of exerting their will. St. Joe's is doing a good job of not giving in, but Penn really is able to dictate what they want to do offensively here.
In front, Kirkar couldn't get it through.
With the exception of Mike Adler, who is saying, you shall not pass.
Oh man, he has been all over the crease in this second half. A nice little goalie battle we've got going on between Adler and Junkin. Penn takes a timeout with under 9 minutes to go. We'll step aside. Quakers looking to close out St. Joe's in a Philly rivalry game on LSN.
Hey everybody, Tom Eschen here in the LSN studio. Some guys in the field today in Philly taking in the MLL draft last night, and what a wild night it was in Charlotte as Alex Woodall taken first by the Ohio Machine, shocking everyone who thought Pat Spencer would be the top pick. Woodall, a face-off guy, having a breakout senior season, winning 72% of his face-offs. In his previous 2 seasons, he was right around 60%. His 67 ground balls in 5 games, well on pace to break his previous career high of 101 in 15 games last year. Just so you guys know, for the Ohio Machine, Kenny Maston and Greg Pascolja, the main current face-off guys on the roster. And it took longer than previously thought, but Chesapeake taking the hometown boy, Pat Spencer, at 7th overall. Dave Cottle saying on our air that Spencer was one of his top prospects, and there he goes. The Bayhawks taking a chance on Spencer, who we know could play basketball next year. He would join the likes of Lyle Thompson, Colin Heacock on that Chesapeake attack unit if he chooses to play. Spencer with 37 points thus far in his senior season. Here's a quick look at the rest of the first round. You can see rounds 1 through 7 right now on demand here on LACSportsNetwork.com and the LSN app.
Welcome back to Vitus Field. Penn and Tyler Dunn looking to close out a 2-0 weekend at the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Big weekend for Dunn. Also, last night being selected in the 4th round by the Florida Launch, 29th overall in the Major League Lacrosse draft. A chance to join the crew of Tom Mariano down in Boca Raton.
From Long Island to Philadelphia, all the way down to Florida, he just keeps moving south.
It's a good thing. I always said that's what I was going to do after I graduated from Syracuse, but I never quite made it.
Make the Florida Launch, get drafted by the Florida Launch. That was the plan.
That's what I should have. You know, my name was eligible that year I came out of Syracuse, despite not playing lacrosse, and just nobody picked me up.
The teams, they don't typically put a lot of weight on not playing lacrosse in the draft.
You know, maybe I'll go for an advisor role for Tom Mariano and company down there.
That is one of the tougher places to play. You get the highs and lows. It's about 95 degrees and 100% humidity, and then you go in the locker room and it's about 40 degrees and you're freezing cold in all your sweat. So definitely a challenge down there. But the guys who play for that team, I know that they definitely take great care of them and they enjoy being down there. Shout out to Rocco's Tacos, Taqueria.
Oh, there you go. Unsettled situation. Piper Bond. I think I heard a bunch of no's from the Penn sideline.
I was going to say the exact.
He did not hear them.
No. I heard a couple of those from Coach. Okay, no, those are usually the no, yes, and then they score.
Yeah.
But that was a no. Okay, at least we got the backup.
Right, exactly. No, talking about Florida, I remember talking to Josh Hawkins, our former analyst and former MLL player, and I think he had a situation where he went down there with your Cannons team and like
full body cramp.
Yeah,
never seen anything like it.
Not enough liquid whatsoever in his body.
Full body cramp, fell down, was as stiff as a board, and people were like, "What is going on with you?" They had to take him to the hospital. He ended up being completely fine, but it was a little bit of a scary moment. I've never seen anything like that. Completely locked up because he didn't have enough liquid in him.
Kids, if you're going to go to Florida or somewhere warm when you're not used to it, drink a lot of water and a lot of Gatorade.
There's a reason Gatorade was invented down there. Penn content to take their time here, work the clock down and settle for a great look. Good save there by the backs.
Somebody's
one of the Hawks'
helmet,
heads.
yeah.
Bailing Mike Adler out, giving him a little bit of a break.
Stuck there on 9 saves. Mike Adler, I think he'd be okay if he didn't have to make a 10th. Something says to me he's going to be forced to make at least one more.
And just leaves the ball in the corner there as the shot clock runs out. Now for St. Joe's here, this might be a good opportunity. Obviously, you're not getting it done, you know, with your starters. You got to imagine that the Penn's probably going to be putting some new faces in there. With such a young team, this might be a good chance that maybe let that second or third line midfield get in there and see how they work, or rotate 1 or 2 players in and see how they work, and give some guys an opportunity to prove themselves so you know what you have for building in the future.
As the Hawks take a timeout. Take a look at what St. Joe's has after they finish out this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Another non-conference game against NJIT, and then right into the NEC schedule. At Bryant, home against Robert Morris, and home against Hobart. Maybe 3 of the top contenders for the NEC championship this year, all right in a row to kick off the NEC conference slate. So will not be easy sledding for the Hawks as they get ready for the conference portion of their season. Remember, coming up tonight, Lacrosse Now, as is every night, 9 p.m. Eastern. A great way to get you all caught up on everything you may have missed across the weekend in lacrosse, including plenty of college lacrosse highlights, stuff from the Crown Lacrosse Classic down in Charlotte, North Carolina. What a weekend it was in Charlotte. We'll also recap the MLL draft from last night at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina. Alex Woodall of Towson going #1 overall, but unfortunately for the Tigers, they could not close out a terrific weekend where it saw 2 of their guys be selected in the top 5 of the MLL draft last night, as Zach Goodrich went to your former team, the Cannons. Alex Woodall going to the Ohio Machine, but the Tigers getting knocked off by Cornell earlier today down in Charlotte. So we are going to have a new #1 team in the country tomorrow morning in the Inside Lacrosse Media Poll.
A lot of great lacrosse still left to be played, but good to see all these shakeups early. That keeps things interesting, keeps things fresh, and also shows the parity of the sport.
And have a turnover. It gives it back to Penn. You mentioned a new #1 team. It'll be the 4th different #1 team we'll have in the Inside Lacrosse poll as we enter week 5 of the poll. Who would your #1 team be if you had a vote?
You know, we were talking about this in the break. I mean, Ohio State, they haven't faced the most challenging schedule, but they are the only undefeated team. So if you value winning, that certainly could be an argument, but it's difficult. You know, I think Loyola is good.
That go in?
That went in.
It did.
Just off, I think that went off Junkin's head and in. It bailed me out because I had no idea who I was going to pick for my #1.
Nate Patterson gets it going. I thought for a second we had a mom goal because he had a couple of those at Villanova on Friday night. This one finds the back of the net. 11th goal of the season for Nate Patterson. It did.
Just handcuffed him.
Yeah.
Nice video of Tyler Dunn backpedaling there.
Oh, that's like
showing the athleticism.
Yeah. Well, that's like the goal we saw between Syracuse and Hopkins yesterday, where Syracuse just threw it off of Ryan Darby's, like the back of his shoulder and head. It was like a whole hockey goal. Just throw it toward the cage, deflects in.
Every now and then, you just gotta hum it in there and hope for the best.
See what happens.
No, but I mean Notre Dame. You look at Notre Dame. They've got some big wins. The only loss they have is a 1-goal loss to Richmond. I mean, it's not the best loss, but at the same time, it's by 1 goal.
Right.
They're coming on strong, so it'll be interesting. You know, Cornell drops a tough one, but at the same time, they win a huge one. So, man, it's a toss-up, and I'm glad I don't put out a poll because I don't know if I'd be able to decide.
I think Penn State's my team. I think if they can hold on here today against Jacksonville, which looks to be a...
We're up by 10, so far so good.
I think they're in a pretty good spot. Grant Amen is one of the more special players in the country. If you haven't had a chance to see him play, find a way to see Penn State and Grant Amen. One of the best distributors.
And you know, I mean, you look at Penn State, the only loss they have is to Yale. That's a 1-goal loss as well. I watched that game. That was a great game, back and forth towards the end with opportunities for both teams. So I like that call. Coach Tambroni, I think, has done a great job with that program and continuing to build it up and finally getting to where they hope to be.
Yeah, the big question for them will be when they get into postseason play. As winds and fires, Goldner's got 4.
Goldner 4 of the last 5. All pretty similar, just getting to set his feet with time, and I think at least 2, maybe 3 of those have been assisted by Sam Hanley. Hanley doing a nice job drawing that double, stepping back. He sees it the whole way, feathers that thing through the middle, and then Goldner really gets to be the lucky recipient of a beautiful pass, steps down and makes sure that ball's going in. The shots that he shot at, no goalie has a shot at.
No.
Saving.
How about a career best 4 assists for Sam Handley? We saw him be able to finish from distance for Penn on Friday night in the win over Villanova with 4 goals and 3 assists. Well, no goals today, but 4 helpers.
Yeah, to be able to do that as a midfielder and to also be able to do that as a freshman,
yeah,
that's great for Penn's offense because he can do it himself or he can help his teammates get better, and that's when that depth that Coach Murphy talked about comes into play. There's that goal, the first face-off win with a long pole.
And a crease violation on Kolda.
I think they're going to call a hold there. On.
Okay.
But he looks like he might have fallen on his shoulder or his arm. Slow to get up here.
Hate to see that happen. He's favoring his shoulder.
It's kind of dragged down. It looks like he goes down hard on his elbow or his wrist. I've separated my shoulder quite a few times, and falling hard on that shoulder, sometimes everything just pushes together. It looks like they're tending to that shoulder.
Zach Cole is such an important part as a freshman of this St. Joe's team. Entered today at 61% at the X. I know he hasn't had a great day today, but he's been a really good face-off guy for St. Joe's so far this year. Went 90% as a high school senior last year. Led the state of New Jersey, but that does not look good for the Hawks freshman face-off man.
Those shoulder injuries, typically those are very painful and frustrating for a couple weeks, but you bounce back from them and come back full strength. So hopefully he's okay and can bounce back here in the next couple weeks. They have their sophomore, Billy Hardeleza from Austin, Texas, to back him up. So hopefully he'll get some reps here towards the end of the game and keep things rolling.
Hawks go back to work offensively. Try to continue to chip away at this lead as we tick towards 4 minutes to go. Oh, nice play by Noah Lehman. Guy coming off of all these injuries he's had. Good to see him out there and healthy and being a key contributor of this Penn defense.
A little walk the dog there over the head.
When you think of Penn here, and I think we've really seen the emergence of Sam Handley this weekend. And you look at it, he entered this weekend in his first 3 games with 4 goals and 2 assists in his freshman season. He had 4 and 3 alone on Friday, 4 more assists today. He's now up to 17 points on the season. You could look to this weekend if Penn is able to string together a run in the Ivy League, and Handley is a key part of it. Look to this weekend as maybe a turning point for the Quakers.
Yeah, and they knew they had strength there. They just weren't able to put it all together. And this weekend gave them an opportunity to showcase all those guys, have everyone contribute a little bit, and find out what their strengths are and how they can start working together. I do think that they're an athletic team. They play really hard. You can tell they play hard for each other, and that makes such a big difference.
Goldner wanted number 5.
Don't know how he missed that. Every other shot has been going right in those corners.
Gergar! He has a hat trick.
Great feed by Matthias there. Drawing his man, keeping his head up as he dodges full speed. Finding Gergar on the inside. Gergar's done a really nice job of finding those gaps. I'm sorry, that was Rosner that fed that ball. That was a great take by him. Keeping his feet out of the crease like a wide receiver, dragging the toes, keeping him in bounds. Follows the slide, is able to bury that thing on the far side.
3rd assist of the afternoon for Alex Rosner, the senior. Gergar, a freshman from Annapolis, Maryland, had just 1 goal in the season entering today, now up to 4. Still in there is Kyle Gallagher, continuing to go to work at the face-off X. 14 of 19 today, Kyle Gallagher at the X. At 57% is going to continue to go up after this afternoon's performance.
Penn getting some new faces out on the field, giving guys different opportunities. Thomas Chai out there.
Shot goes a little wide.
Drew Robshaw taking a shot.
Yep. Also have James Campbell. You've got a new goalie as well.
So I guess Junkin won't be setting a saves record in this game. He did his job.
Robshaw's shot is saved. The new goalie is Alex Anderson, the senior from nearby Radnor, Pennsylvania. Went to Radnor High School.
good opportunity for him to get out and play in front of family and friends. That's what's special about, sometimes these lopsided wins can be frustrating, but at the same time, it gives different guys an opportunity to play, and it's so nice when there's hometown guys that get out. Their friends, their family come to the games, they support them over the course of all these years, and then they get to get in and get some time and hopefully make some saves and some outlet passes, and it's a special feeling.
Oh, and that's something that they want to continue to create with this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. The coaches expect this to continue into next year and to shift to the other two sites. So St. Joe's and Penn will likely host the 2 days next year. Chance to continue all these rivalries and mix up some of the matchups. Despite the weather, we had snow on Friday, some rain here today, but despite the weather, I think a pretty cool event that they put together.
Yeah, and it seems like the teams have competed hard. There's been nothing too chippy, just a good competitive set of games. It's been great to see, and you can tell there's a lot of respect for each other amongst these programs. And to be able to do something like this, it is a special weekend, and these guys are going to look forward to next year doing this again.
They continue to want to get more programs from the high schools and the youth programs to be able to come out and see all 4 of these teams play. It can only help them too, because if you grow up as a kid going to this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic, it only wants you to makes you want to play for one of these programs. Reminder, we've got more games coming your way here on Lac Sports Network as part of our CAA Game of the Week slate. Our CAA Game of the Week slate continues on Friday, March 15th, next Friday. First-year program Utah, who has strung a trio of wins together here. They're above 500 on the season. They visit Fairfield. That ought to be a good game, and the Utes coming east should be a lot of fun. Our first chance here at LSN to see Utah. And then coming up a week from Saturday, a major showdown once again at Johnny Unitas Stadium, Denver at Towson, before we get into CAA conference play with Hofstra and the Tigers battling on March 30th. Our CAA Game of the Week all season long here on Lac Sports Network, taking you all the way through this CAA semifinals and championship game coming your way in May. The Mitch, as St. Joe's tries to throw one more in here as time winds down. What stands out to you, especially from what we've seen from the Quakers here this weekend? Did you get one more home from Matt Tufano? Didn't see a lot of him today. Matt Tufano.
Nice little bury by Tufano. Yeah. I think for me the biggest thing is Penn's versatility. They've got the pieces in place, and Reed Junkin, just his confidence. I feel like his confidence was showing over the course of the weekend. Defense is tough and physical. There's definitely some spots that they want to tighten up defensively in terms of their sliding and some of the times on those slides. But with Reed Junkin in that, with dialing in that defense, their midfield is really good between the lines, and they're really good in settled 6-on-6. And then their attack is very good as well. The attack didn't initiate as much. They did a little bit today. So initiation from the attack, and then a little bit tighter on defense. Those two things, and they're going to be a very difficult team to beat.
A face-off win there for Penn, and it seals up a victory. The Quakers walking away 2-0 on the weekend. They entered this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic at 0-3 on the year. The Quakers leave with a win over a ranked opponent in Villanova on Friday, and then followed up with their second straight win, taking down St. Joe's here today, 13-6, your final. Mitch, this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic was a lot of fun. Thanks for being along with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or the audience.
No, I'm talking to you, Mitch.
Yeah, no, I had a blast. It was great having a Philly native here by my side to kind of lead me through what Philadelphia is all about, and some great lacrosse.
Grittiness and good cheesesteaks. That's all you need to know. Also some good soft pretzels.
Philadelphia egg roll taking place on creases near you.
It was a lot of fun to be along the ride for the first ever Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic here on LSN. We hope you enjoyed it as well. The Quakers and Drexel both leaving at 2-0 on the weekend. Once again, your final score, Penn 13, St. Joe 6. Thanks for watching College Lacrosse on LSN. For Mitch Belisle, our producer Dylan Hand, and our entire crew, I'm Travis Eldridge. We'll be back on Friday. Utah visits Fairfield in our CAA Game of the Week. But right now, we'll send you back into the LSN Broadcast Center.
Welcome into the LSN Broadcast Center for our Lacrosse Now post-game show that wraps up our 2 games from the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. And that one was a quite interesting game. Penn looking really, really hot and looking good.
I think Penn was interesting. I mean, they
hey, that last goal by St. Joseph's.
St. Joe's drew up a play late in that game to work on some stuff, like you mentioned. Megan and I are talking about it for next week. So, coach's daughter, right, Megan?
Yes, not lacrosse, but I am a coach's daughter.
You know what they're doing. So let's show you the first half of the full game, actually, of this one. Most of the action happened in the first half, but we'll start there, shall we? When it was 0-0 at Vitus Field in Philly. Let's get out there. Kivich Postel to Alex Russner, who's out in front. 1-0. Penn starting out hot, and then a little bit later, Simon Matthias. He scores. He was on our air earlier this week. 2-0 Penn, and as you can see, that trend continues. Time winding down in the first. Dylan Gergar, who is right out front. 4-0 Penn. It's 5-0. Do they make it 6? There's Gergar again. 6-0 Penn out of the gate. They make it 7-0 before St. Joe's can get a goal. Nick Vernacchio does finally end the goalless streak, which actually lasted until the beginning of the fourth quarter in St. Joe's game on Friday night. But Penn would just keep it going as we head into the second half. 10-2 Penn with that Adam Goldner goal. He had 4 of them on the day. A little bit later, St. Joe's they're fighting to the end. Vernacchio gets hit, dives, still scores. It's a good goal. 10-3. Time winding down in the third. How about another St. Joe's goal? Another dive. That one's good too. It's 11-4. We go to the fourth. It's 11-5 at this point. Austin Strazula, Adam Goldner rather, scores there. And as you get the idea, Penn goes on to win this one, as you just saw right here on LAC Sports Network in the second game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic doubleheader this afternoon. 13-6, the final. Vernacchio, a couple goals. Patterson, a goal and assist. Dorian, a goal for St. Joe's. As for the winners, Matthias had a hat trick, as I mentioned. Goldner had 4 goals, and Gallagher, 14 of 19 at the X.
All right, let's move on to the first game that was at the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. This game was at noon on LAC Sports Network. First quarter, we're all tied up at 1. Chris Friedman runs his way down the middle, passes across to Marshall King. Drexel goes up 2-1. Now Villanova up 4-2. Connor Kurz receives the pass. He runs down the middle and scores to give Villanova that 5-2 lead. But Drexel will have a little run themselves. Matt Varian runs up from behind the net, shoots and scores to cut it to 5-3. And then second quarter we go. Drexel down 6-3 here. Rebowering works his way around the defense. Outside the net, he scores to cut it to 6-4. Now we're all tied up at 6. Ryan Genord fires it down the field and Drexel takes the lead. That would be 4 straight by Drexel, and they would keep on going. That's Nolan Fox running down the middle and scoring to give Drexel a 2-goal lead in the game. Third quarter we go, 10-6. Colin Mailman fakes the D. He shoots. He scores. Drexel takes it 11-6. Fourth quarter, now they're up 12-8. Nick Fox fights his way through the defense, and he rips it, shoots low, and scores to make it 13-8. Fourth quarter, 13-9. Matt Varian passes to Nolan Fox, who's right out front, and he shoots and scores, and Drexel would be unstoppable, and they would get the upset over 11th ranked Villanova. Drexel 2-0 on the weekend at Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Villanova 0-2, did not win any games this weekend and were upset. But Drexel was amazing. They had 10 different goal scorers in this game. Mailman led the way with 4 goals. King had 1 goal, 3 assists, and Blumenthal had 13 saves against the 11th ranked Villanova Wildcats. For more, here's Drexel after the game.
I mean, it feels great. I mean, it came off a slow start in both games, but, really dialed it down, settled down, and defense played great in front of me, and, just feels great to come out with 2 wins and get back to a 500 record. I knew that they were going to shoot high a lot. I mean, and they did it. And I kept dipping on the first couple shots, and I settled down. And I knew just stay high, and it'll happen. I started seeing the ball a little bit later in the second quarter, but they missed the goal. And then I knew I was going to come out strong in that third quarter. I just had confidence in myself and my defense, and put it all together and played great. So I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a little bit of a slow start. We, kind of made some mistakes early defensively, but the guys, gathered themselves. I thought, Ross just said he stepped up, played much better in the last 3 quarters. It just was kind of scrambling and figuring stuff out, and we just got better on defense and did some good things on offense, and kind of got better in the middle of the field also.
Drexel was really pumped, I feel like, after that week and going 2-0 for those 2 games. I think that was a really good step for them and the program for this season.
Yeah, I think they showed off their offense. So I think some of us knew they had. We've kind of seen them kind of have comeback wins, and we've seen a lot of people be able to score for them. And it's amazing to have a team like that where you can spread the ball around and spread the love around, and you never know who can get hot.
And there's something special about a team that really can compete to the end, and no matter what happens. And even though they might lose a close game here or there, that means you're battle tested. That means you can win games down the road, and that'll bode well as we head farther into March and April. So congratulations to Drexel, 2-0 on the weekend, and PENN as well, 2-0 on the weekend. So a couple of teams very happy coming out of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Villanova, not so much.
No, it didn't turn the right way for them.
But we did have another weekend of games down in Charlotte, the Crown Lacrosse weekend. Number 1 and number 2. How about that for a matchup? That's pretty exciting. And so was the long pole goal. And who else? Kobe Smith's been supplying them all year long for Towson and for us. That makes it 1-0. He's flexing because he's strong. Later in the first, Towson on the man up. Brendan Sunday just drafted to the MLL last night, and now he scores a goal. 2-0 Towson early. They're up early. Jeff Teed across the middle to Clark Pedersen. That's a goal. 2-1 Towson, lead cut in half. But then Towson goes on another run of their own. Luke Frommert had a couple of goals just in a row, back-to-back, to make it 4-1. It's 4-2 later in the first. There's Kobe Smith, again the long pole goal. He can get out in transition. It's 5-2 Towson, and that is when Cornell turned it on. There's Jeff T from the right to the left side, and there is Pedersen, who scores to make it 5-3. Cornell down 1, later in the second. There's Pedersen again in front with about 3 guys in front of him, and he's starting to feel it now as he ties the game at 5. A few moments later, let's see what he can do here. The dodge in front, and then beats the other guy in front. He scores and flexes. He says, "Feed me." He's flexing. He's got it all figured out in this one as Cornell goes on a huge run. Pedersen scored. You see another goal there. He scored 8 goals, a career-high 8 goals in the first half. And then as we get to the second half, John Piatelli really turned it on as well for Cornell, who wins going away over the number 1 team in the country. Cornell, who just lost to Penn State going away on Friday night. Pedersen, the career-high 8 goals. Piatelli finishing with 6 points. Teat didn't score, but had 4 assists, which is what he does very well, as we heard Chris Marshall say earlier. Jonathan Donville had a hat trick. Frommert finished with 4 points. Smith and Sunday, 2 goals apiece. Towson won 26 of 32 faceoffs, but went just 9 of 16 on clears. Towson also won the ground ball battle, 46-33, but they also turned the ball over 9 more times compared to Cornell. So you can see a little bit into the stats there of the results. The Big Red visits Yale on Saturday. Towson heads to Duke.
It won't get any easier for the Tigers. All right, so this game is going on right now down in Crown Lacrosse Classic. We said that if Penn State need to make a statement, because with them beating Cornell, the rankings tomorrow, Towson going down.
What's going to happen?
This is definitely going to be something people are going to be looking at the half right now against Jacksonville. They're up 17-6 for the Nittany Lions. Amen, having a day, 2 goals, 7 assists, already at the half. That's 9 points.
Now,
That's
with
crazy.
those 7 assists, he's broken the single-season Penn State record for assists. This is game 7 of the season.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of season left. That record's going to be pretty big by the
we're
time
going to see
we
a lot more of him and a lot more assists coming his way. And, Penn State just looking unstoppable. I don't know what this score is going to look like at the end of the game. Do you have a prediction? How many more times do you think Penn State's going to win?
I think, like we saw sort of in the Cornell game, we saw Pedersen score the 8 goals in the first half, sort of calm things down in the second half. I think Penn State gets into maybe the 21-22.
I could see that. I could see that 21-22. Boston College had 22. The women had 22 yesterday. I could see a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 25. I'm going to say they're going lights out, and they want to make sure that's come tomorrow. That they probably have that one
no
spot.
Doubt. There's
they
no
have
doubt.
that one number right in front of their name. Change that 4 to a 1.
Interesting. Jacksonville scored the first couple goals in this game. Penn State really turned it on. Elsewhere, in the women's action, James Madison beat Rutgers 10-7. That was close at the half, and then Madison really pulled away. So USC over Virginia Tech there in the second half, and Michigan keeping their winning streak alive. best start in program history continues. And Stanford early over Oregon, some Pac-12 action there in the first half.
All right, don't forget, we'll be back tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern for Lacrosse Now. We'll have all the highlights and give you some analysis from all the action from today and give you a couple of recaps from what's been going on this weekend and then also with the ML draft. There's a lot to catch you guys up on.
Yeah, a lot of breakdowns. Chris Marshall will join us again to break down everything that happened between some of those teams, especially down at the Crown. And we'll have the guys on the call breaking down the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic as well. So coverage as far as the eye can see. Just like in Lion King, when Simba and Mufasa, and he says everything that the light touches is yours. That's what Lacrosse Now is. Everything that the light touches.
Some Sunday motivation, some Sunday little gems right there.
Anytime you can tie the Lion King in.
Oh, Tom, dropping some knowledge. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys at 9 p.m.
Bye.